When Letecia arrived at lunchtime, she was driving the Volkswagen to her interview. Geez, she's got a pair of balls on her, this woman. Insane ones. Investigators noted that the vehicle was wet and appeared to have been recently cleaned. Oh my good lord. What's she thinking? I submit that Detective Bethel submits that Letecia had to clean the vehicle because there was likely visible blood on the rear end based on luminol that they found, and indeed the video footage was recovered that shows a partial view of a car wash located at E. Platt Bonfoy Ave. Okay. Indeed's a weird word to put there, maybe. The video captured a portion of a black SUV consistent with her car at about 11:30 on January 29 at the car wash. And then she went straight there. The time and location are consistent with raw data obtained from the computer from the car system. Oh my god, I'm not laughing, but this is just ridiculous. She went to the car wash on her way to the police station. Just to, give it an extra going over to make sure that there was no blood on there? Good lord. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant for the car, which was seized from her at the interview. Thank God, and she must have looked so guilty. Did they think that they weren't going to look at her car or whatever? Well, she obviously didn't think that. She thought she was so much better than them. On or about the 1st of February, the FBI Evidence Response Team conducted a search of the Volkswagen. In summary, the forensic search revealed possible traces of blood on the rear of the vehicle, a rear passenger seat, front passenger seat, an area near the glove box based on luminol. Swabs from the trunk area were sent to the crime lab. These results revealed that a DNA profile could not be developed and that the swab from the trunk was negative for blood. But blood was all throughout the car. The rear of the car, the rear passenger seat, the front passenger seat, the glove box. Oh, gosh. This is just to be clear, luminol is a chemical used to detect trace amounts of blood. It reacts with iron in the hemoglobin, etc. Okay. Several areas of the Volkswagen reacted to luminol, as mentioned in paragraph 68. Specifically, the search team found evidence of suspected blood on the rear bumper and step plate of the rear bumper. The location of the blood is significant because this vehicle was backed into the garage, as I said before, at the house on the day of his murder. The search of the residence, as discussed below, but it is noticed that evidence of Gannon's blood, based on DNA, was also located on the floor of the garage, consistent with where the rear end of the Volkswagen would have been. This is insane. Now, we can't see it. I can't see this. It's a luminol reaction of the rear bumper, so I'm assuming this is the luminol, but I'm not sure. A photo is included below to demonstrate the reaction of luminol. The position of it leads investigators to believe the blood was likely in contact with the rear bumper of the Volkswagen, and most reasonably whilst loading Gannon's remains in the trunk. Swabs from the exterior bumper have been submitted, but those results have not yet returned. Within the Volkswagen, a receipt from the dollar store was located, time-stamped January 27, 5:14, and documented the purchase of trash bags, baking soda, vinegar, and items listed below. Investigators believe that Harley purchased these items at the direction of Letecia based on the following text message sent from Letecia's cell phone to Harley's phone at 4:52 on the 27th. Carpet powder, 2 things, baking soda, trash bags. Also included in this dollar store purchase was baby oil, baby lotion, cotton and bubble gum. Investigators do not believe these other items were involved in the cleaning of the murder scene and likely have no investigative value at this point. So we have to say that she perhaps was just told to go and buy these things, Harley, I'm saying, because she bought her own makeup things and baby lotion and whatever as well. So if your mum sends you a text saying, can you just get 2 of those carpet powdery things and stuff, you would just say, okay, because you don't know if your mum's allegedly just killed somebody, so that would make sense that you would buy that. This person says she knows from personal experience that baking soda and vinegar are common household items that be used to clean blood. And then conducted an internet search and revealed that vinegar is one of the most common items used, etc. Let's get past that. Okay, so at the moment I'm just going with what I've read so far here. I have read through the whole document, but not as much as I'm reading to you because I'm going through it and discussing it. Now, to me, that initial area where Harley is involved is because she's been asked to do something from her mum, and that's it. I don't think there's any making assumptions just yet, unless of course we go down and there's a very, very specific thing that says that we need to think otherwise, which I may have missed obviously, so let's just keep reading. It goes back down to the Volkswagen now at 77. Also located was a parking receipt for the airport that documented the Volkswagen was brought into the airport short-term parking lot at 8:30 a.m. and left the lot at 7:02 p.m. both on January 28th. On January 29, Letecia returned the rented Kia at approximately 9 in the morning, and she was picked up by someone driving the white Jetta. That's Harley's car. Investigators were unable to confirm that Harley was driving the Jetta, but it is her primary vehicle, and her historical cell location from her cellular phone records supports her phone was there in the area. As such, I believe Harley was likely driving that vehicle. Investigators were able to download telematics and stored electronic data from the Volkswagen. A more in-depth exploitation of the Volkswagen's electronic systems, more specifically its historical locations, were developed and will be discussed below in more detail. That's interesting. So paragraph 152. Investigators were able to determine some of the locations of the Volkswagen on the evening of January 28, including its location in the area of Highway 105 South Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. Investigators also served a search warrant to AT&T related to an international mobile subscriber identity designed to the Volkswagen's CarNet feature. AT&T responded to this search warrant and provided network event location system data that would give an estimated location of the Volkswagen. The data revealed that during the evening of the 28th of January between 8:30 and 10:20, the Volkswagen was generally in the greater northwest portion of Colorado Springs, and likely also in an area north of the Air Force Academy and southern Douglas County. have a little look at the map in a second. I submit that during this time period, investigators believe that Letecia disposed of Gannon's remains. So, generally in the greater northwest portion of Colorado Springs, and likely also in an area north of the Air Force Academy. It's exactly where we thought. Of note, during the time period of approximately 8:30 and 10:20 on January 28, Harley's cell phone is connected to a tower that would service the Stauch residence over approximately 30 miles from Letecia's suspected location. There was activity on Harley's telephone during that time, and investigators do not believe that Harley was with Letecia when she disposed of Gannon's body. However, at approximately 10:26, Harley's cell phone leaves the Stauch residence and goes to the area of Powers and Carefree, where investigations suspect she picked Letecia up. It really looks as though Harley has just does as she's told by her mother. So at 10:20, Harley's phone is at home, basically. Then at 10:26, so only 6 minutes later, she leaves the house to go pick up her mother. So that would lead me to believe that at like 10:24 or something like that, Letecia rang her and said, "Come and pick me up." But maybe it'll tell us more about that a little further on. But the next thing we're going to go into now is the alleged rape of Letecia Stauchs. And an interview. Can you believe this? Now there's a rape. There's not a rape. As mentioned above, Letecia voluntarily came to the police station with an interview with investigators, remembering that she just went and got her car cleaned the minute before she went there. Well, I can't believe that. But only after she was evasive and avoided speaking with investigators one-on-one. Her interview was audio and video recorded, and below information includes her own statements, as well as investigation geared towards collaborating those statements. In general, her statements are reasonably categorized as untruthful, incomplete, and misleading. Letecia was supposed to arrive at 10 a.m. on January 29, but didn't arrive until noon. Although she did speak with investigators on the phone several times, she did not want them coming to her house, and was difficult at best to track down. Investigators provided food and water to Letecia during the interview. Now they have to say that because she might say they treated me badly. They wouldn't have. They provided her what she needed. Of interest, Letecia brought several pieces of notebook paper with her that contained notes that she had written down. During the interview, she referred to those pieces of paper and asked investigators if she could just read her notes. Investigators were not able to seize these documents. I have conducted hundreds of interviews of subject, victims, and witnesses. It is extremely rare for an individual to bring notes to an interview. I'm not surprised that she said it's extremely rare. It is extremely rare, and it shows to me the character of Letecia Stauchs. Like, she really thought that she was one step ahead of everybody. And bringing notes, like, she's actually... I was finding it hard to figure out whether she was super silly, super dumb, or really, really smart. And it's still hard to understand whether she's super dumb or super smart, because, well, she's extremely silly in thinking that she can go to the police station after just washing her car late, after not saying anything, with notes, to think she's going to get away with it, because of course she's not going to get away with it, but she's insane in thinking that she's going to get away with it. So it's stupidity at its finest, but she's trying really hard to get away with it, but she just can't do it properly. She's a lunatic. Letecia drastically departed from her initial statements given to deputies regarding the report of Gannon's disappearance. In summary, here we go, this is what Letecia told the police. Letecia said she had been held at gunpoint and raped by a Hispanic male she knew as Eduardo, and that Gannon was abducted by that male after he finished raping her. God. So now she's rang her employer and said that her stepfather was killed as an excuse. Now she's been raped at gunpoint by a Hispanic male and Gannon was abducted. God. The interviewing detectives believed her statements were false based on prior experience investigating sexual assault cases, so she would have said all of that wrong as well. Oh, dearie me. Letecia said she arrived home around 2:30 on the 27th of January and she disarmed her security system, then went into the basement. She said that Eduardo was in the basement, attacked her and pointed a gun at her. Now, so she has to come up with something about the basement because it got leaked that she was in the basement, right? So she had to come up with something there. So good one for that leak. She said that after he held her at gunpoint, he allowed her to go upstairs to say hello to her stepdaughter, LAINA, who just arrived home from school. Letecia said she sent her outside to ride her bike, then returned back to the basement where Eduardo vaginally penetrated her against her will. Godfather. Between 1530, so 3:30 and 4:30 an hour. During this period, she believed that she had hit her head and may have blacked out. Investigators noted no injuries on Letecia's head during their contact with her. God, she's a nutcase. Letecia also said that during the attack, Gannon jumped on Eduardo's back and that Eduardo was able to throw Gannon off his back and across the room. After Eduardo had finished, he had the gun held to Gannon and demanded a suitcase. So there the suitcase comes into it now. Letecia provided him with a brown suitcase and a cardboard box. Okay. Don't switch off. Don't think that there was another man involved in this. Eduardo attempted to sexually assault her again, but apparently she hit her head and blacked out again. Of course, because that's what you do when you're fighting off someone who's raping you. Letecia stated that she tried to fight Eduardo off but was unsuccessful. I know from training and experience, if an individual holds another person at gunpoint, he or she would likely not allow the person to have opportunity for escape, as Letecia described being allowed to go and say hello to her daughter. Most crucially, if Letecia's story was accurate, any reasonable person would have called 911 and reported the home invasion, the rape and the kidnapping of their child. She called law enforcement hours later, didn't report the rape until 2 days after that. She is off her rocker. Of even more significance, Letecia said she cleaned up the area where this alleged attack had happened. She straightened up signs of disturbances in Gannon's room and cleaned up the utility room. Investigators recovered cleaning supplies such as carpet brushes, which contained suspected carpet fibres. I submit, that's not me, this detective submits that Letecia did in fact clean something up, but it was the murder scene of Gannon, not the sexual assault. My God, she is an absolute pathological liar. I just walked away and got myself a drink and whatnot, and I can't even believe it. Like, I'm letting this sink in more and more. I've just been reading this document on and off today, and I can't get over it. The woman is absolutely just, she lost her mind. All the premeditative acts that she did to cover up whatever initially happened. We haven't even got to what's going on with the candle. You know, and that's definitely, I can tell you now that the candle is involved in this. So it still doesn't completely make sense, and I'm not sure whether it's going to make sense at the end even, but like, it's just like, what? This is no wonder Gannon was coming through so strongly. Like, he must have been just screaming at us, you know, you've got to get this woman, she's nuts. You know, her whole psyche is, ugh. Okay, so where was I? She cleaned up, said she was sexually assaulted, raped by some, oh, deja vu, big time. Okay. Investigators took steps to corroborate Letecia's statements before dismissing them as false and misleading. So Colorado's cops are pretty smart, it seems, much smarter than some other states where the cops do nothing. So they took steps to corroborate her statements before dismissing them as false. For example, investigators reviewed video footage from a neighbourhood security camera that captured the exterior of the Stauchs residence from the day of Gannon's murder and did not observe a Hispanic male entering the house. Investigators did observe LAINA arriving home on the school bus at or about 3:11, saw her enter the house, and saw her riding her bike at 3:30. So there was no Hispanic male. There was no male at all. That was another disgraceful lie. Furthermore, Letecia was offered the opportunity to have a sexual assault nurse examiner conduct a forensic exam at the hospital. Oh, we can see where this is leading. Ultimately, Letecia did not want to have the exam completed. When given the opportunity to provide investigators with evidence that would possibly identify Eduardo, which I wonder if she wrote that name down, because isn't it Eduardo, or is there Eduardo? I don't know. She refused to cooperate. She like thinks of these crazy things and then thinks she's going to get away with it. She legitimately thinks she's smarter than the cops. Letecia stated that she met Eduardo on January 26. Oh my God. The day prior to Gannon's murder. If this is not made into a Netflix show, I will be so surprised. She's the most insane person ever. Poor Gannon, this is ridiculous. She generally described Eduardo as a Hispanic male with brown hair and brown eyes, but couldn't provide any specific information. Okay, here we go. In summary, she told investigators that Gannon had knocked over a candle on Sunday, causing the carpet to burn. After that incident, she drove around the neighbourhood where construction was taking place. She met Eduardo, who was working on a house, and asked if he would repair the carpet in her home. Eduardo agreed, and Letecia provided him the garage door code, and they agreed he would repair the carpet while she was shopping the next day. Oh my God, she just wants to all out blame this other person if he exists, but let's just keep going. To the extent Letecia spoke about LAINA, investigators were able to corroborate those statements, but never saw Eduardo or anyone else arrive or leave the residence during that time period based on video footage. So she's completely lied about there's no man later. She did this allegedly herself. I have to say allegedly, I'm not going to wreck anything. Specifically, exterior video footage revealed that LAINA was riding her bike outside between 3:30 and 3:42. Furthermore, the front door of the house opened and closed at 3:28, based on the security system. Detective Bethel knows from training and experience when individuals concoct lies, most reasonably to conceal the truth, they oftentimes leave portions of truth within those lies. She left so many portions of truth in her lies. I submit that the statements Letecia made reference LAINA and the time period LAINA was at the residence are likely true based on the video evidence. Her other statements, however, regarding Eduardo apparently are blatant lies designed to mislead investigators. So she's telling them the exact thing. She knows the data from AT&T. It was put on Facebook. So she knew what times she had to make up for. I wonder when it was put on Facebook and whether that ties in with it. But anyway, she was smart enough to know that she would have to try and figure out those times. So she made her story. The story she concocted is ludicrous and ridiculous, but in her head would have been the only story that she could have come up with to actually cover every little time period, because everyone knew everything she was doing. Okay. Investigators also, this video is going to go for a long time, so settle in and make a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. If you don't have coffee, have tea. It's more relaxing when you're hearing something like this. You can do whatever you like, of course, but it's going to go for a little while longer. Investigators also reviewed her Letecia's phone records during the time of the alleged rape of 3:30 to 4:30 on the 27th of January. During this time, Letecia had phone activity to an outgoing phone call and numerous iMessages or text messages using an iPhone to Mr. Stauchs and Harley, namely to discuss purchasing a new set of headphones for Al. These text messages occurred at the following times: 3:41, 3:42, 43, 44, 45, 4:11, 4:19 and 4:20. Now that is a very interesting time period here. What's going on? Why all the texts? Why the flurry of texts and then 15 minutes, 26 minutes, nothing? Or was it all Albert, a couple, Harley? I'm not sure. Okay. Investigators were also granted a search warrant by the court for ADT Home Security, which requested stored data related to the house. The Stauchs residence was equipped with basement and living room motion detectors, and we know this, so I won't go over that. But there was a log produced, and they knew when she opened the door, when she closed it, who went where, every single minute of what that day, and it's from the motion detection from ADT. Okay, Letecia claimed that she was raped in the basement between 2:30 and 3:30. So let's have a think about that for a second. Up until now, we were led to think, on our own devices, of course, because nobody led us to think that, but we saw footage at 2:19 that she came home without him. Now the police are saying that she didn't come home without him. So this is that day. So she arrived home at 2:19 in the vehicle. They believe that Gannon could have actually got out of the vehicle, and they do believe he did get out of the vehicle. So then at 2:30, within 10 minutes, she's downstairs, being apparently raped for an hour. But at this time, so it's 2:30 to 3:30, she knew that LAINA, her little girl, was going to come home. So let me read a bit more. And during that time, between 2:30 and 3:30, the back door of the residence located on the main level was opened and closed 10 times. If indeed Letecia was being raped in the basement, it would be impossible for her to open the upstairs back door of the residence at the same time. This detective submits that Letecia's claims of being raped in the basement are false based on her cell activity and the ADT data. The logs from ADT indicate significant activity in the basement of the residence, where evidence suggests Gannon was murdered. So they believe that he was actually murdered in the basement between 2:30 and 3:30. So, for example, on the 23rd of January and the 26th of January, at that time, the average number of basement motion events was 3.5. On that day, the average number of basement motion events was 10.3. So the only possible scenario for the increase, or not only, but a possible scenario, is that she was going upstairs and downstairs in order to get cleaning supplies and cleaning the murder scene. Toward the end of the interview, Letecia said she wanted to leave. Investigators seized her telephone and detained her while they applied for a search warrant to collect DNA. Letecia began stuffing tissues in her pants, and she said she was having chest pain and shortness of breath. Good God. Investigators immediately requested medical assistance, and paramedics from the Colorado Springs Fire Department arrived. Letecia had appropriate responses to the paramedics' questions. So now she's acting insane, and that's the insanity that was in the chart, the Neptune. She's stuffing tissues in her pants because she's trying to act like she's crazy, and then I'm having a heart attack. Jeez. I am aware that Letecia has made statements regarding Gannon's disappearance to individuals other than law enforcement, including but not limited to her friend, her husband, and the media. Indeed, some of those conversations have been captured and memorialised in recorded phone conversations and email messages. Letecia's stories have continued to evolve, and material facts continue to change, including but not limited to the identity, it's got an F in there, of her attacker, the location of Gannon's abduction, and details of the alleged rape. During her statements, Letecia did deny killing Gannon and provided explanations as to why there was blood in her Volkswagen and blood in his room, and why she was in the area of Palmer Lake. Can you believe this woman? Like, she just went for it, didn't she? Oh, I'm crazy. Oh, I'm having a heart attack. Call the paramedics. I know exactly what to say to them to make them think I'm having a heart attack. What lies next? When you read it in depth and actually read it into a microphone and have to tell it to other people, it becomes unimaginable. I can't believe it. What I know, got moving forward all the way to her trying to escape and punching the people that were transporting her. This woman is absolutely off her rocker. Unbelievable. Okay. Crazy point 102. It's just getting crazier as it goes. Letecia was transported to the hospital via ambulance from the police for further medical attention. She was accompanied by detectives during the ride to the hospital, so they weren't having any bar of her crap. They were going to sit next to her wherever she was, even if she was about to die of a heart attack. They were going to question her. Unlike questions at the EPSO by paramedics during the ambulance ride, Letecia was unresponsive to questions by medical personnel and seemed to have a miraculous recovery when they arrived at hospital. The ambulance ride was audio recorded. Letecia received medical care at the hospital, and the details of that care is not included in this affidavit for medical privacy reasons. She did not have any life-threatening issues and signed herself out prior to all of her exams being completed. So she thought she might get away with it, but the cops were on her ass anyway. So, I'll just bail myself out of this little situation and move along. Letecia continued evasive behaviour at the hospital, but particularly after investigators told her they were going to detain her pending the issuance of a search warrant to collect her DNA. Ultimately, the search warrant for the collection of non-testimonial evidence was signed and executed. A second warrant for the compelled SANE exam was initially authorised by this court, but then was quashed by this court. To be clear, Letecia did not allow a SANE exam to be completed, and that is one to show that she was sexually assaulted by this apparent Eduardo. Letecia was not in custody after the warrant was executed at the hospital and left the hospital without telling investigators. She also made a phone call from the waiting room at the hospital. There was physical surveillance being conducted by law enforcement in the area, and investigators learned Letecia was picked up by an unknown person at the hospital and was reunited with her daughter several miles from the hospital. Well, that's very interesting, because the hospital was pretty prominent in the readings and in what a lot of people said. So yeah, she went to the hospital. Gannon wasn't being taken to the hospital. She was having a crazy, I'm going to the hospital thing. Although her behaviour was not illegal, I submit that as pressure continued to increase from investigators, she became more and more desperate to leave the hospital, likely because she feared being caught in her lies. Furthermore, she did not want to pursue collecting evidence that might assist law enforcement in identifying and finding her supposed rapist. This one is searches of Letecia's residence and discovery of confirmed blood in Gannon's bedroom. Investigators searched the Stauchs residence several times over several weeks and applying for and being granted search warrants from this court. The purpose of these searches was to collect evidence, including biological evidence, in support of the captioned investigation. The forensic searches were conducted by the Colorado Springs Metro Crime Lab. To avoid confusion, the January 28, 2020 initial search was authorised by Mr. Stauchs, Al, and he provided consent to search the residence. Not all of the evidence recovered is included below. However, the forensic testing results of several items, including a pair of 8.5 size Nike shoes, are discussed in paragraph 126. Gannon's remaining family members were living in the residence during the period of these searches, and investigators did not initially seal the residence off. Crime scene analysts from the Colorado Springs Metro Lab responded to the residence and found traces of blood throughout the residence based on latent blood stain reagent tests, luminol. There was visible blood in Gannon's room, in the garage, and other portions of the house. Blue Star forensic stain has similar limitations to luminol, which is okay. And it explains their house. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. 2 of those bedrooms are in the basement, including Gannon's. Next to Gannon's room there is an unfinished utility room, staircase, etc. The reagent was applied to Gannon's bedroom, the hallway leading to the utility room from his bedroom, the utility room itself, the staircase, and landing leading upstairs from the utility room, the pathway to the garage from the stairs, and the garage area itself. In all of these areas, investigators found positive results for the likely presence of blood. Now, there's a picture here, and apparently you can see something, but I can't see it. The reaction at the base of the stairs in the garage. It's probably been blacked out. Specifically in Gannon's bedroom, in the corner of the room, investigators located an area where suspected blood had seeped through the carpet, through the pad, and stained the concrete. Furthermore, there was also blood stain and projected blood splatter located on the walls in this area. Indeed, over 50 drops of blood were found on the walls near Gannon's bed. Crime scene investigators also suspected someone attempted to clean the walls based on the way that the agent reacted. Gannon's mattress was also seized and contains a red stain consistent with blood in the same area as the stain on the carpet. Now, I think you can see this here, so I'm sorry, but that is likely the blood stains there on Gannon's mattress. Gannon's mattress was seized, stains on the carpet, and the blood cast off on the walls. I'm no expert, but I think when you have cast off, it means that you've hit somebody extremely hard, or if a knife has been involved in this part of something, then it's unmanageable to think that there's cast off on the walls. It's like either overkill or it's awful. The laboratory results have not yet been returned, but because other blood in the areas was determined to be Gannon's, investigators suspect that the blood on the mattress is also Gannon's. I've also included several crime scene photos that include the wall next to Gannon's bed and the carpet and carpet pad that was removed by investigators to expose the concrete below. Based on the orientation of Gannon's bed, the vast majority of the blood would have been in line with the position of his head and torso, and consistent with the stain of the mattress displayed above. I submit that the blood located in Gannon's room appears to have been cleaned up based on residual blood on the baseboards and electrical outlet cover, and the blood that soaked through the carpet. DNA testing has confirmed it was indeed Gannon's blood, and Gannon's body has not been found. This has been written over a period of time, so that was at this point. Reasonably indicating this was likely the scene of Gannon's murder, his own bedroom in his own bed. I'll just skim through this little bit. They got Tom Griffin, who's an expert at blood. He examined the blood spatter on the wall. Mr. Griffin preliminarily reported that the stains on the wall are consistent with one or more blood splatter producing events, which could include gunshot, blunt force, or a stabbing. Mr. Griffin did not believe the bloodstains were aspirated blood, primarily due to the lack of air bubbles in the stains. Furthermore, the shape of the stains were affected by the surface texture of the drywall. The report is pending. Gunshot, blunt force, or stabbing. Well, astrologically it looks like blunt force, but astrologically blunt force and stabbing can be the same. It's Mars, represented by Mars. Here we have the sockets on the wall where there was blood. It just says that there was evidence there. It's near his bed. It's his blood. Now here's Gannon's bedroom, and the wall next to where his bed was, marking the suspected blood stains. So that's all of these little areas here. So that they know exactly what's happened to him from this. There's also a photo of the blood stain in the concrete. It's a bit hard to make out, but so located in the corner of the bedroom where Gannon's bed was positioned, this stain is also visible in the photo depicting the blood spatter on the walls. January 29, investigators recovered a piece of carpet from the utility room with possible blood stains. The recovery of this carpet tends to further support the positive alerts from the Blue Star reagent in the utility room. I don't understand. I mean, there's the video of him saying he's bleeding and crying and all that sort of stuff. I don't know when that was taken. To know that he came home and then was probably murdered within 10 minutes of that. What was going on? Where was he all day? I have so many questions. Okay, I need to keep reading. On January 29, investigators found in the dishwasher multiple carpet brushes with suspected carpet fibres on them, and the dishwasher appeared to have been run. Investigators believe these brushes were used to clean up the murder site. To be clear, no formal testing was completed to confirm the fibres on the brushes were carpet. Well, that's not too good. They really need to do that. Hopefully they have. Investigators also located an empty gallon-sized container of vinegar within the residence. There was approximately half a container left before... Al said there was half a container left before he left for Oklahoma. But it was empty, obviously, afterwards, so she's used half a gallon of vinegar. EPSO deputies that responded to the Stauchs home on January 27 did not notice the bloodstains in Gannon's bedroom, and it should be noted that the initial report was that Gannon had left the home and had not returned. Deputies that responded to the Stauchs home on that day, the 27th, at 10 o'clock at night, didn't notice any bloodstains in his bedroom. And it should be noted the initial report was that Gannon had left the home and not returned, which is what we all thought. As additional information was developed, more forensic searches of Gannon's room were conducted, which revealed the aforementioned evidence. There were small traces of blood found in the depressions of the drywall and paint texture that Letecia failed to remove when she cleaned the murder scene. Okay, so on the 27th by 10 o'clock, she cleaned it up. She was cleaning it up when she asked Harley to go and get more supplies, which was at 4:42 or something. Okay, I'm just putting this together in my head. So she killed him. Harley inadvertently got involved at that point, it seems. and brought home some more cleaning products, and she's just cleaned up. And by 10 o'clock, she's cleaned all visible blood. So initially when you walk in, you wouldn't notice. Okay, so it's not like the cops are just like, there's blood everywhere. She's made a distinct effort to make sure that that blood's hidden, and they wouldn't have seen it straight away. So that's where that's going. Because I was getting annoyed thinking, what the hell, the cops didn't see the blood. But so they didn't notice the blood stains, and it should be noted in the initial report that Gannon had left the home and not returned. So they're covering their bums a little bit too, obviously, because people will say, well, why didn't they check the blood? You know, why didn't they see the blood? Just like I initially did, because that's what we do. We instinctively think we know. So you have to keep thinking and reading and, keep going to understand. So they have something to cover their ass with that, and that is the initial report was that he'd just left the home and then ran away. So they weren't going in there looking for blood or anything, and it looked normal to them. So they weren't going to see that straight away. Okay, let's have a quick look through this Metro Crime Lab report case. Complete testing. That's just about DNA. Investigators submitted swabs from Gannon Stauchs' toothbrush from a tooth retainer that Mr. Stauch said belonged to Gannon. Buccal swabs were also taken from Gannon's biological father, mother, and Letecia. From these samples, DNA profiles for these individuals were developed and compared, etc. In summary, Gannon's DNA profile was found from blood samples taken in the garage on the outside of size 8.5 Nike shoes and in Gannon's bedroom. Letecia's DNA was recovered from the interior of the size 8.5 Nike shoes. I submit to the court that the lab results tend to corroborate the theory that Gannon was indeed murdered in his bedroom, brought into the garage, and his remains loaded in the Volkswagen, subsequently to be disposed of in an unknown location. I think we know where she took him. I really believe that he was along one of those lines. He was either there at South Perry Park Road or in the area where they were searching the second time around Peaceful Pines Road. So this just talks about serology, taken from the carpet inside the utility room, DNA profiles, Gannon, okay. And there's more of that, obviously. DNA, carpet. I won't read everything. It just explains where it all was. So he's been killed in his bed, in his bedroom, taken to the Volkswagen, left in there for a while, dumped somewhere else along one of the places where they searched, then went back and got him and did the rest of the stuff. This is not even halfway through the actual story of what really happened, because as we know, he was in Florida. So okay, DNA was the outsole of the Nike shoe. So yeah, okay, so she had his blood on her shoe. It doesn't mean that she kicked him or anything, but it means that there was blood on the shoe. Cell phones. Investigators applied for and were granted historical call records for Letecia and Harley. Skip forward. Unusual activity for Letecia, including potentially disconnecting her cell phone from the cellular network for several hours. By disconnecting the phone, Letecia intended to prevent law enforcement from being able to determine her location. Specifically, this occurred on January 28, 2020. During the evening, she disposed of Gannon's remains. Okay, this is Letecia's phone, a whole nother section. Okay, let's have a look at Letecia's phone. I think we know most of what she did because we saw it all, because the crazy woman showed everybody on Facebook. Investigators applied for a grant and search warrant for her phone, obviously. A physical download was conducted and they were able to recover data inclusive of text messages, call records, the specific times, battery levels and all other information. Investigators learned that Letecia lied to her employer, her husband, her friends, her daughter and the children's babysitter. Her daughter, remember that. Okay, got to keep remembering that, because I feel that people are going to try and say that Harley was extremely involved, and it doesn't seem like that at this point. And the children's babysitter. I will not include each and every text message or lie. Additionally, there are messages that would otherwise tend to corroborate her statements about Gannon's whereabouts on the afternoon of January 27th. If in fact he did go play with his friends. So that was when she was saying about him going and playing with his friends, blah blah blah. So we saw all those things. As discussed in other portions, Letecia's story was false and misleading, and these messages were likely sent by her as a part of a larger plan to support her initial lies about his disappearance. For example, January 28th at approximately 05:14, which is 5 o'clock in the morning, Letecia had a conversation with Stephanie, saved as Stephanie Sitter. It's here. There's no indication that Gannon ever went to a doctor, and Letecia never brought that up with investigators. Some, but not all, of their conversation is below. I'm just having a look. Outgoing. He had to go to the doctor, but he was here in the afternoon. Honestly, I don't keep up with his friends. Okay, so the messages that we saw on Facebook and everywhere were from her to the babysitter. Letecia made statements to investigators via text message. What? So she texted the investigators too, eh? That could be considered exculpatory in nature, related to the presence of blood in the basement of their residence, as seen in the message below. I know where this is going too, don't we all? I've talked with investigators that were inside the Stauchs residence on 27th, 28th and the 29th. There was no odour of smoke, no evidence of smoke. In fact, one detective noted the basement smelled like coconut, which was very pleasant. Furthermore, I know that burns oftentimes do not produce wounds that bleed profusely. Okay, so they've cut some things out there. When we came back inside from the smoke, there was blood on both of us. I didn't know what to do. I was scared I would get fussed out about it. And I didn't know if he should go to the doctor. I kept trying to add the candy thing. The what? But Albert kept saying it was email and minor. I was scared the basement was smoky, and when I threw the covers on everything, we both had blood. The message below appears to contain instructions from Letecia to Harley to purchase carpet powder, baking soda and trash bags at 4:52, as I said before. That's the text there. Oh, up here. This is a text to Harley. Nicole. What? Daughter. Nicole. I won't get caught up in that. There's still plenty more to go. I think this is already about 7 hours long as it is. Investigators recovered limited GPS and location data from Letecia's phone. There are crucial time periods, such as the evening of January 28, that investigators were not able to recover location history because she disconnected. Letecia stored several written notes within her iPhone. The majority of these notes contained what appeared to be usernames, passwords, or insurance information. There were several notes that appeared to reference her unhappiness in the relationship and shed some light on potential household instability. Letecia's internet activity. Okay, this just goes on to say that they downloaded her internet search history between the 25th and 28th. She viewed websites searching for jobs in other states, apartments, a search for a rental car, she used Google for all of her searches. Not all of her searches are included below. I submit that Letecia's search history is important because the history suggests she might have been struggling as a step-parent and additionally suggests she was not happily married to Mr. Stauch. While her search history alone does not provide motive to murder Gannon, it does shed light on her inquisitive thoughts of her position within the family, memorialised in this Google search engine. I also direct the court's attention to the way that Letecia's search terms are sometimes entered. She hits the what are they called? Inverted commas key instead of the space key multiple times while searching the internet in approximately 44% of the searches below. Okay, so if you see inverted commas, it's Letecia, that's her thing. This will be significant during the discussion of a search conducted on Gannon's phone and will be discussed below. You can see these inverted commas over and over again, so they know it's her texting and her Googling. And here we go. Google search. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to leave it up and just show you, but look, we've got so much time here. So she was unhappy. On the 25th, she was unhappy. Singles, being a stepmom, I need advice. Ex-wife does nothing for her kids, I raise the kids. One day some people will wish they treated you differently. That was on the 25th. And she's getting more angry. Find me a rich guy. It's crappy for parents who don't care for their kids. It's all about how badly she's treated until the 27th, 12:09 a.m. My son burned the carpet. How do I fix it? Will a humidifier help if exposed to smoke? Smoke from fire effects. Will humidifier help? Okay, so it appears like the fire might have happened. It was just a small little fire, but look, this is what I'm thinking. Allegedly, in my own head, and allegedly she was really, really sick of everything. Gannon set fire to the carpet accidentally, or whatever happened. That was the recording, and that was the trigger for her. And it pretty much shows in the Google search. Then it talks about her talking about if he is going to get in trouble for staying at home, Colorado law for kids staying at home. Son is sick, should he stay at home? Suede repair kit for sofa. Then there's the police, the number for the police, which was 654 there. And then in the middle of the morning, 4:15 a.m, what is the process for a runaway child?